Starting the stream. Yes. I do believe we are now live, and I can hear myself. That's wonderful. Why on earth do I keep forgetting that? It must be like a scorecard at this point. It's a good thing I have my Discord audio turned off. There we go. It seems as if I am live, fortunately. So, yep, we're live. Good. How is everyone tonight? Hopefully you can all hear me loud and clear. My, what on earth do you call it? My bitrate seems to be perfectly fine. Everything seems to be pretty good overall. Let me just check on my glorious and wonderful tabs and make sure my streamer mode is active so I won't get spammed massively. Top chat, live chat. There we go. I just want to note, Porian, that on top chat, your message was just censored, whereas on live chat, it's not. So, yes, apparently YouTube considers Wubba Lubba Dubba Dub to be extremely racist and extremely dangerous. So, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Whoa, you're early? Yes, I am in fact early, because why not? I was literally just sitting here thinking about what to say, so ultimately I figured, well, just hit go live. Just hit go live. Good Rick and Morty is very offensive. I have never watched Rick and Morty. I have kind of heard, watched a few clips of it, but Western cartoons have never interested me in even the remotest sense of the word. Like, I went just straight into anime. I never watched cartoons as a child in any way whatsoever. I would, like, catch glimpses of them every so often when I was at, like, hotels and so on with my parents when I was very young. And I was always just like, nah, I don't care about this stuff. I'd much rather just watch something with real people in it. So I skipped over that part of my father... That part of my father? That part of my... sorry, it's because nice hair feathers. Chief Brooks on Fox. Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm gonna pin that. That's actually funny. Congratulations. Congratulations on making me laugh. You know what, fuck. Let's just go. Oh crap, I can't actually edit that with my Chief sniffs the tail. Now you're no, that's almost as good, but nah, there's something about that first one that I find quite entertaining. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Henrik Carter. I think it's Triptych as well. Anarchal Foreigner, Super Duper, Murray, Muffy Graves, Porian. Anybody else will probably show up in a few minutes. I'm starting to understand why VTubers have, like, starting soon screens, because it can be a little bit awkward to try and start everything all at once, because I'm always... And, like, I always have to, like, wait for a few... about 10-15 seconds, because all the elements on OBS, only barely serviceable, they load out of sequence, so it'll tell me that I'm live, but I've tested this. The time between it telling me it goes live and it actually starting to receive data for the stream is like 5 or 10 seconds, so if I start speaking the moment it says, yeah, you're live, then almost certainly it cuts off the first few things that I say, which is really irritating. So I can understand how a lot of streamers have, like, their starting soon screen so they can actually make sure that everything is working. But, you know, what about me? I'm just kind of lazy at the moment. Well, I'm not lazy. Hopefully I will not be as lazy soon. You see, with the basis for this whole thing is that summer is now coming to an end bit by bit. The daytime is drawing in quite a bit, and because of my time zone, I am very much limited in what I can do streaming-wise, because when you live on a farm, your rhythms are kind of determined by the animals that surround you, and it's very difficult for me to schedule a stream before my birds are all in bed, because if they're not in bed, then, well, stream will have to be interrupted for a good 15 minutes in between while I have to put them all to bed. Otherwise, I have to ask my parents to do it, and I don't think it's particularly polite to ask very elderly parents, hey, I'm gonna go commune with my internet bros, can you chase around a whole bunch of guinea fowl and quail and birds? That's not really very polite, and I don't think I would be a particularly dutiful son if I asked them to do that. So, yeah, as the days get shorter, I will actually have an advantage. I might be able to push my stream times back a little bit to maybe like 9 or even 8 p.m. because in the middle of winter, it gets dark so quickly that the birds are always going to be in around those times. And I kind of miss streaming earlier in the evening because I'm aware that quite a few people are unable to catch my streams because just of the awkward intersections of time zones. I experimented earlier in the year of doing streams at different times, and it's just very awkward. It's very kind of disruptive both to me and to my glorious and wonderful fans who love me so much, to actually, experiment with anything. I prefer just asking people, hey, when the hell are you going to turn up? And then seeing if that aligns with the kind of schedule that I can personally output, which is a lot better for me overall. And another thing, really the main thing that inspired me to make this entire stream is that for the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 weeks, I have been very busy with real life stuff. And I've also been busy with some things behind the scenes that are kind of related to TVA, but not necessarily the mechanical side of things. One of the major problems with being who I am is that my attention is very much divided between the practical functionality of the forum and the kind of things that my position in the VTuber community, if I'm, kind of arrogant enough to say, gets me to interact with. It's difficult to compartmentalize things properly. I find that when I have people talking to me about stuff in the industry, it becomes a lot harder for me to focus on other things that are to do with the forum, simply because in terms of internal priorities, it's like, this person is actually talking to me about something that could severely affect their personal career and possibly the industry as a whole if everything were to come straight out into the open. Although I'm not really sure how much at this point, because it's always been my issue that there's the spoken and the unspoken things in the VTuber community. And when I say VTuber community, I kind of mean the entertainment industry as a whole. It's the in-confidence type of conversation. Yes, I would say blessed. I'm also cursed in that I seem, for some insane reason, to be considered a trustworthy person to talk to. And I think that it's mostly because of the horrifyingly massive lack of trustworthy people to talk to within the VTuber community that I am, in some ways, allowed a certain level of insider access. The VTuber industry is very cutthroat and very clique heavy. Yes, it absolutely is. I mean, I was kind of ranting about it on the Discord a little bit earlier, but I mean, I won't revisit that directly, but it's like that. That's another thing. I'm going to be working on some scripted videos soon. Well, I literally already am writing a script for one. One of the first things that I want to put out is kind of an analysis of the Tiger Argyle situation, because that situation has not been really paid much attention to on the forums, but it has very much had a massive impact in the VTuber community as a whole, and I think that it has caused people to see VTubing in a certain way. And one of the major issues that I have with it is that Tiger Argyle is a specific kind of person his content appeals to a kind of person that is generally not likely to be particularly mainstream, but obviously if you look at things like his Twitch chat, his YouTube channel had something like nearly 200,000 subscribers. His Twitch channel, I think, has something like nearly 200,000 as well. Like, he has been a big creator. Yeah, Colin474, Tiger the Annoying Femboy Guy. And see, that's the thing, kind of that comment in a nutshell is... Tiger is not really known outside of those specific circles that are likely to tolerate him. I mean, in fact, a good comparison would be, look at the way that VTubers are perceived as a whole on somewhere like Kiwi Farms. And I don't mean inside the VTuber thread on Kiwi Farms, but in general, the kind of content that becomes associated with VTubers in general on KF. They all look at it from the outside if they're not already familiar with VTubers and go, oh wow, this is a bunch of men with voice changes, so why would I care about anything to do with this? They're probably all pedophiles and evil, so I'm just going to throw a few stones and then walk away. Like, it's impossible to get anybody to actually talk about the real problems in the VTuber industry on somewhere like KF, because the people that are to discuss that kind of thing have no actual understanding of what VTubing is and the dynamics within the VTubing. And I think that Taiga is a good comparison to that, because Taiga is a big creator. I was astonished at how large of a creator he actually is within the VTuber community. But because he is pigeonholed into that, yeah, as Danny D said, lots of borderline porn and femboys, almost nobody who watches people that aren't that kind of person even knows about him. And I certainly didn't. I thought he was a small indie, like a basically irrelevant indie. And then I go on his streams, and keep in mind that because of all the drama surrounding him, his personal brand has taken several major hits. He can still reliably get 4 views on every stream that he does. So he is a big creator in this space. And I think at one point before the accusations came out, he was well on his way to being equal to like V Shouho and other creators in that sphere, which just completely shocked me to realize when I actually started looking into him. But I kind of don't want to go into it too much, but Colin474, I can see it. I can't really analyze what's going on since I know nothing about the culture he thrives in, so it's creepy to me, but I don't know if he's an outlier. Big fish in a small pond, I say, yeah. It's a fairly decent way to do it. I feel like Iron Mouse is more of a poggers type of VTuber over time. For any tourists who might be watching, 4 views means 4 digits. Yes, I think his last stream was on like 2,000 CCV, maybe 2,500. A lot of people didn't realize how big Tiger had gotten, but yeah, he was on his way to Silver Veil levels, but the first drama hit that, of course, yes. And I find it extremely interesting how Tiger's accusations came out right as he was about to do... He was getting, like, top billing alongside people like Merryweather, Lumi, Finish, and as a Silver Veil, Iron Mouse, these other streamers at... what on earth was it called? Like, Digiyomi or something? I looked it up, but it was a big, like, convention and everything. So he had a lot of mainstream exposure. The Tiger situation is long colluded with so much lost evidence. We have quite a bit archived. We're trying to get more. Yes, archives are incredibly important because I've kept quite a few archives myself, and I've been fortunate enough to be in contact with people who know Tiger. So I get, I would say, a bit more than average, and I've gone out of my way to ask questions. Remind me, Lumi, I'll see if I can share what I have, because I knew I shared it with somebody, but I can't remember exactly who, which is annoying. It's manufactured drama from what I can tell. You see, that's the kind of thing. One of the most difficult things about the whole situation, and I'm really trying to choose my words carefully here because I don't want to be taken out of context in any way. is that I really don't think that whether Tiger is guilty or not even enormously matters in terms of how this whole situation went down. Because when you look at how he was perceived in general, and this ties back to him getting like major billing at a convention, and I've listened to several of his streams since this whole thing dropped, and I actually think that he makes an excellent point, because one of the things that he consistently goes back to is that he was never trying to hide what he was. A whole load of people that have since dropped him or attacked him over his content are acting as if he hid any of the stuff that he did, when that's not true in any way. It's this giant supposed revelation about all that, like the fetish art and stuff that he made, and like the kink streams and so on that he did. And trust me, I don't like that stuff. I really don't like that stuff. But this stuff was never in any way hidden. The people that are accusing him were quite happy to deal with him and tolerate him when he was popular and he was doing all this stuff when there were no allegations against him. The moment that allegations dropped, everybody retroactively opened their eyes and went, "Ew, he's a horrible degenerate freak. We want nothing to do with this." But he never tried to hide that. In fact, he was cheered on and championed by people for doing that stuff. And he's completely in the right to say, why are these people turning against me? They used to either do the same thing as I did, or, you know, they knew that I was doing it and they never said that I was doing anything wrong. Like, I think that one of the biggest things about him that, you know, I kind of hold against him, but I don't, I think there's more context to it, is that one of the major allegations against him is that he wanted to quote, fuck little boys. And yeah, that is something that he said. And the context of that, I don't even think necessarily excuses what he said. Like, that was the thing that he should never have said. However, at the same time, I can't help but look at it and go, what kind of culture was he exposed to for years and years and years that made him feel so comfortable with saying something like that, either as a joke or as something serious, in a public Discord where it could be copied and used as evidence? And yet, even though he did this, it took years and years for somebody to say, oh, this guy is a horrible freak for doing this. Like, this was not hidden. This was not a case of somebody digging into some really private, you know, deep Discord server or whatever and going, oh, wow, this streamer is leading a hidden double life. No, that wasn't the case. Yeah, this is kind of funny. Like, Colin474 says, like, you haven't said similar things on stream, super duper. I mean, for those that might happen to be watching this stream with no context, the joke is that super duper is Rie from FaZe Connect. And the thing is that Rie from FaZe Connect has literally reposted porn of herself tied up and being fondled by shotters. Explaining the joke makes it not funny. Yeah. Danny D, Proctor, you need to realize in the middle end of the 2DG Gen community saying things like that is more common than not. Yeah, exactly. It is. It is very common. It is sketchy. And again, I don't like that he said that. I don't think that he should ever say something like that. And I don't think people like Rie reposting porn of themselves getting felt up by shotters is particularly good. Like, that's not a good look. And I don't blame anyone for looking at that kind of material, as in, you know, knowing that people do that, and going, wow, this guy is a disgusting freak, I don't want to have anything to do with him. And also, I think he might be unironically attracted to children. Like, I don't blame people for making that assumption. That assumption is fine. I don't think that it is true. Emphasis, I don't think that it was true. But I can understand the assumption. But what I have such a massive problem with is people who knew this all along suddenly having a problem with it after years of being exposed to it and having no problem with it whatsoever. Colin474, being blunt, I think a lot of these people are so irony poisoned they lose track of where the joke is. Yes, and that is another very good point. Is that I really hate it when people screenshot stuff on Discord and use it to kind of say that people mean things. But I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. That's like, you know, you say one thing, it's like, it's... People's brains are just not wired to be able to look back at everything that has been said in the past and be able to reanalyze it and go, oh, this is just as fresh as if it was said right now. The phrase time heals all wounds is a very good one, because if somebody says something nasty to you and then a year or so passes, it doesn't matter how nasty that thing was, you know, with a few very rare exceptions. It's almost certain that simply because you don't have exposure to that sentence any longer, you know, that voice is not in your ears any longer, you can't replay it in your head as accurately, the memory of it will have faded and your instinctive emotional response to it will have faded. In quite a few cases, you might even find it funny now. Even if at the time you found it extremely offensive and upsetting, you've probably made up with the person who said it with you and you kind of laugh about it now. And the difference between that and the internet, I say wounds, oh, I say time wounds all heals. Greetings, Staccato. The difference between that and the internet is that I can say something nasty to somebody else, and they can screenshot me saying that to them, or typing, more accurately. And they can pin it on their desktop or wherever, and every single time they want to feel just as angry at me as they did at the moment that I said that to them, they can go back and they can look at that message, and they can let it fester in their brains, and they can hold on to that anger, they can hold on to that grudge. And that will never be gone. In fact, it might even be, and this has happened to me, this has genuinely happened to me, that I have said that I have had words with somebody, and we have apologized, and we have made up, and yet years later, I happen to be reminded that, like, their messages that they sent to me will come back into my timeline or my feed for some reason or other, and I will have to fight quite strongly to resist that urge to say, did they really apologize to me? Is this still how they feel? Because that's just the way our brains are designed to work. We're not designed to be able to process the same thing over and over and over and over again as if it was literally happening to us over again. In fact, I would love, this is kind of a tangent, I would absolutely love for a psychologist, or I'd love to talk to a psychologist who specializes in post-traumatic stress disorder. Because one of the fundamental features of post-traumatic stress disorder is that people relive the trauma that they experienced in the past in a very photorealistic fashion. Like, their minds are trapped in a loop where the sensory experiences of their trauma are brought back to them with a vivid and intense reality. And I would love to talk to a PTSD psychologist and ask him if they think there is any kind of link between PTSD, the PTSD kind of way our brain works, and the way that we re-experience things when they are when we are re-exposed to them in a format that preserves the original intent, energy, and emotion, like having something written down. And that's kind of a ramble. I'm sorry I rambled on that so long, but that's kind of how I feel about it. I think that it is a really fascinating thing, but as far as it relates to Taiga, Armored Glass Cannon, when they apologized, they only did because they caught. I mean, yeah. Like, another thing with Taiga is that look at the character of his accusers. Like, you have people like Marina, who is a disgusting person. Like, completely disgusting individual. And you have people like Sylvain Spark, who is a completely deranged individual as well. Like, none of the people that ever accused Taiga of doing naughty things have a clean record themselves. And it's funny because I've been able to ask some of Taiga's friends, why on earth did Marina even try to destroy Taiga in the first place? And they all say, we have no bloody idea. We have no idea. Like, Taiga never, to my knowledge, interacted with Marina in any particular fashion. There's no beef between them. There's no aggression between them. All of this is just Marina deciding to destroy Taiga for some reason or other. And Nux is a complete hypocrite. Yes, Nux is also a massive hypocrite. Because he's done, again, this is another thing that Taiga himself said, that Nux has done degenerate stuff before. He reviewed, I think, Boku no Pico, or whatever that, like, little, like, boys love manga is, or whatever. They probably thought it was an easy win. Yes, and trust me, I have seen quite a few screenshots of that. A person of gender calling someone out for a lolly/shotter sounds like deflection to me. Yeah, she needs to deflect the backlash on her to someone, quote-unquote, worse than her. He talked about it a bit on our podcast on Thursday. We had a surprise visit. Yeah, I did watch some of that. Unfortunately, I have not watched all of it, Lumi. So it's in my tabs, so I will definitely get back to it at some point. Ulf Arcane, welcome to my chat. I think it's the first time I've ever said anything here. To be honest, I don't get this image people have of modern morality. Very idealistic yet disturbed. Colin474, Taiga, whether you like him or not, is an easy target since everything looks bad outside of his containment. It's easy virtue-signaling material. Nux is a clout chaser and an idiot, always has been. It's why V Shoujo distance him. Yes, I can agree with all that. I remember when Boku no Pico was a massive meme, basically just like one of those classic shock videos people would react to for content. Yes, that is exactly my point, Monaco Florida, and it is a very valid point that nobody wants to accept. I can understand if you've done degen content in the past and you've decided that's not for you, you're going to move past it. There are ways to do that. But you always have to acknowledge in future that eventually you are going to punch at another person or call them out on something they're doing. And it's going to be brought back to your table that you used to do the same thing as well. It's the whole case of glass. If you live in a glass house, you shouldn't throw stones. And that is what I see in the VTuber industry at the moment. I see a huge number of glass houses. And I see people in those glass houses literally building catapults to throw boulders at each other. And I'm just like, look, I do think that people have done bad things. Again, if I was in a completely objective attitude, like, Taiga's content is pretty degenerate. Like, the guy has some messed up fetishes, and I really hope that he moves past those. And I don't like the fact that I am in a position where I'm basically on his side because the people who are against him are far worse than anything he has ever done. I don't like that. I want to be able to look down at somebody and say, I don't want to have anything to do with you, you're a degenerate. However, I have this little thing called principles, which say to me, it doesn't matter if somebody has done something I don't like. If they are being accused of doing something that they have not done, or at least cannot be proven they have done, by people who have done even worse things themselves, I have a moral obligation to stand up for that person and point out, yeah, maybe we should look at the other side, thank you. Porian, no, clearly nobody would ever make a review of one of the biggest memes on the internet of the late 2000s to early 2010s. Clearly he was having a non-stop goon shish the entire time. Sorry, just looking at the reply there. Thrang, how does one move past a fetish? And then Colin474 says, not having a Discord server full of people telling him it's epic and based will be a good start. And again, that's another very good point. Is that I look at somebody like Taiga, and that there's I forget what it's called. I remember watching many years ago a police series on TV. It was about a bunch of, I think it was forensic psychologists or forensic analysts who basically did like psychological profiles of criminals. And the whole show was about them using their psychological profiles to catch criminals. I can't remember what the name is. I can remember multiple episodes and whole scenes of this show, but I cannot remember what the name of a single person in it is or even what it was called. But what I found very interesting, what has stuck with me for a very long time, is there's one scene in this show where one of these forensic psychologists is interviewing, I think it's a murderer. Criminal Minds. Yes, it's Criminal Minds. Yes, that's exactly what it's called. So the idea here is one of these psychologists is interviewing a murderer who I think is scheduled to take the death penalty. And they're having a conversation with this murderer, and they're talking about the circumstances of this murderer's life and what led him up to him being a murderer and being on death row. And they're basically talking about what a terrible life he led and all the influences and everything. And at the end of it, he says something like, "Can you be honest with me?" And the psychologist says yes. And the murderer asks, "Did I ever have a chance?" And the psychologist says, "No, you never stood a chance." And that stuck with me. That's always stuck with me ever since that scene. Because it underlines something that I see very much of in the Taiga situation. And Colin474 touched on it earlier as well. Is that, has anyone in Taiga's life ever gone, "Dude, this isn't acceptable, and then here's a better way"? Because I don't see it. I can see not one single major positive influence on Taiga's life that one can reasonably point to and say, "Oh, he didn't take this path, therefore he is evil and disgusting for deliberately choosing to be the way that he is." That's just the atheism talking, IMO. I'm not really sure what you mean, Danny D. Beard. For some reason, that always confuses me. I have to say that name very carefully. Personally, I think you should be able to criticize disgusting degens, even if you used to be a degen yourself but have grown. Yeah, I do agree. I mean, it's just like, if you've been a drug addict, then obviously you're in a better position to criticize the habits of a drug addict because you know what that's like yourself. Like, if somebody who was a drug addict pointed to another drug addict and said, "You lead a terrible lifestyle," under no circumstances is it justified to say to that person, "Yeah, but you used to be a drug addict too, you're not in a position to criticize this guy." So there's that. But I mean, again, I think that, but to have not been a drug addict, you kind of have to have come out of it. You'll have gone through rehab and all of that. So in some quantifiable and tangible way, you will be able to look at your own qualities and say, "But I'm not like that." And an objective analysis of my character will prove that I am not like that. Whereas somebody like Nux, there's no part of Nux's personality that you can look at and say, "Yes, this person is objectively much better, a much nicer, a much more wholesome, and a changed man from the kind of guy who used to do meme reviews of degenerate material." You can't do that. All he's done, I think even he admits it, like he admits it in his own live streams, that his proclivities and so on have not really changed. He just changed because what was acceptable on YouTube, what got him monetized, etc., changed. So he didn't change his content out of an earnest desire to distance himself from his degenerate past. He changed it because that was the profitable thing to do. Danny D, the idea you can't change or don't have a chance denies the idea of gods or salvation. I mean, honestly, I do agree with you. And my point is not that some people cannot change, but also there are people who are the way they are, not because necessarily of deliberate personal choice, but because the circumstances they have grown up with and the circumstances they have been exposed to have been so powerful and overwhelming that they have never realistically been in control of their own destiny. And, like, I think that's a very thin line to draw. I think that you can argue both ways with great energy. But, and again, I find that, just to tie it back to Taiga, again, not to get lost in the reeds, because this is such a massive topic. As I was saying, Taiga has been surrounded for years by the kind of people who had no problems whatsoever with his content and only turned on him when it became a financial problem for them, or a reputational problem, which by extension is a financial problem. And so I can't look at Taiga and say, you are a bad person. Because to me, a bad person is someone who has been given the opportunity and the incentive to change and has chosen deliberately and with clear knowledge of the consequences to remain a bad person. And I do not have the knowledge, I do not have the evidence to say that Taiga has been like that. I don't have that evidence, and all of my exposure to him, through his content, through his live streams, etc., tells me that he is somebody who was raised in a terrible way. A dreadful, awful, toxic, destructive way. And I can't blame him for being the way that he is. Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, the odds can be stacked against you. However, I will say Kirsche is an example of defying the odds. I mean, absolutely. She is a very good argument for the opposite direction. But at the same time, unfortunately, I think that Kirsche is a very rare example. Because most people will just let circumstances overtake them. And you know that because look at the way society is. I mean, if it was the case where the majority of people's instincts were able to overcome the circumstances of their birth, you wouldn't have things like ghettos and so on. Disagreeing with Proctor is so much better than with Kirsche, as by now she would have called me some mean things. I mean, I try to be as open to criticism as possible. I mean, there's some things that I just won't agree with. Absolutely, I won't agree with them. I'll be like, no, sorry, you're wrong. But I don't want to... I believe the case with Kirsche is she is the exception and not the rule. Yes, absolutely. To me, some people can turn out bad by circumstance, others by their environment, but when you take those factors out and there's no change, it's their nature. That's actually a pretty solid way to look at it, Leon. It's what a theologian would call blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, is the difference between having no out and being presented with outs over and over again and refusing them each time. Yes, and in fact, Monarchophora, I agree with you completely in that regard. I think you've nailed it very well, although it's probably only somebody like me who has a background in theology that kind of fully understands that. But I get exactly where you're coming from, and I agree with you. Danny D, agreeable, if I remember correctly, Taiga did go through a lot of abuse, but that's hardly an excuse, just more context for us. Yes, as far as I'm aware, and let me just emphasize this, I only have the word of people who know Taiga well on the idea that he was abused. If there is like a tangible, factual evidence that says, yeah, he was abused, then I would like to see it. I only have the word of his friends. However, his friends have consistently proven to be more in line with reality than the people who are against him. And therefore, I assign their words much more credence than those who are against him. Like, that's how my thought process is, specifically, so that people understand it. So I'm being as completely transparent as possible, because again, I do not want to be taken out of context when I am dealing with stuff that is so much of a blasted quagmire. Kirsche just was raised in some pretty good environment, her dad plus her grandparents. Yes, I think that Kirsche had both severe disadvantages and some very good advantages. Nux definitely screwed up with the initial Taiga situation, but I disagree that he should be witch-hunted over not good enough apologies. I don't agree with anybody being witch-hunted, because to me the idea of witch-hunting implies that you're searching for more reasons to dislike somebody and hound their life. I honestly don't think there is anything that Nux should do aside from just be considered irrelevant. Because I think he got somebody told me that he got thrown off. He buddied up with the Mudahar for a while. I don't enormously like Mudahar, but I think Mudahar is at the very least a rung above Nux in terms of moral consistency. But apparently Mudahar had enough of him and threw him off his podcast. I have not looked into that, but that's what I'm kind of aware of. But yeah, I'm going to definitely be putting my thoughts into a much more coherent video that is scripted at some point. You're going to hear a different side of me, I think, because, yeah, the way that I talk when I'm doing scripted content and the way that I talk when I'm doing live streams is quite different. But I'm definitely going to let loose my writing pen, shall we say. Nah, Nox has propagated twice false pedo allegations when he should have known better, but he needs a wake-up call. Mutahar's been kind of flaky, so as to whether or not he's distancing himself from Nux. The last I heard was that Mutahar was debating to throw him off, but haven't heard anything since. Muta is very Reddit. Yes, he is. I mean, again, I don't think that Mutahar... Again, I tend to judge people very strongly on what they claim to be. And Mutahar has never, as far as I'm aware, really claimed to be anything more than just a guy on the internet. What I find most disturbing is when people claim to be authorities on things, and they take for themselves more than their fair share of credit for something. Like, I try not to do that. I know some things, and I believe very strongly in certain things, but I'm always ready to admit when I'm wrong, when it's obvious that I'm wrong, and when people are able to provide me with strong evidence that I am wrong. Because the worst thing you can do is repeating when you're wrong, when you know that you're wrong. But I mean, that kind of goes back to what I was saying before about Tiger too. The podcast got shut down for issues with time. Oompa wasn't there most of the time. They wanted to be better. Muta was better when he did creepypasta readings and deep web/website deep dives. Muta can do excellent work when he wants to, the completionist exposure, but can also be very trigger happy with throwing big disavowals around. Yes, and that's something that I've tried to learn from. To tie this back a little bit more on topic, I have talked about this before on stream, but I will talk about it a little bit again. For a little while, I was trying to do 2 streams every week, and I was mixing in things like VTuber drama with political stuff, with news readings and articles and so on. And in the end, I stopped enjoying it, mostly because I didn't like how I was waking up every week and thinking to myself, what person has made a fool out of themselves online so I can laugh at them? And I also started to witness over and over again, especially on Twitter. A lot of people don't like Twitter, and I understand that, but I find that Twitter is a great peanut gallery for humanity as a whole. There were plenty of times on Twitter when people were making allegations and documents and so on about other people, and I thought to myself, this will make a great content for the channel. And then I wait a day or two, and suddenly another document comes out, or an exoneration, or new parts of the story, and I think to myself, I could have gone online, I could have read this entire document, I could have laughed at it, I could have given my thoughts on it, I could have given my opinions, I could have judged and condemned the people in this. And then a day later, I could have been completely wrong. And I would have been faced with either shutting up about this and leaving something that I knew was wrong up just because it got me views and attention, or I could do a disavowal or an apology or whatever about it, and then I would be seen... A lot of people would complain that I'd even made the apology. Some people would say, oh, why do you care? It's just content, get on with it. And it would have been a disruptive force. But internally, I would have always had that voice in my head saying, you were wrong about this, and you never apologized for it. What else are you going to be wrong about that you're not going to apologize for? So it kind of messed with my head a bit, and I just decided I just don't want to stream in this manner because it's not good for my mental health. I think the problem with Nux was that a public accusation needs a public apology, not a private apology. I more or less agree. Pretty much what Medica's doing nowadays. Yeah, I like Medica's content nowadays. Character is what you are in the dark. Yes. Exactly. Nux also beat around the bush when giving an apology to Magnetar because he platformed Mama Max, who falsely accused him. Yes. And I think that I was also very lucky because I was able to do some content analysis of people who turned out to be basically exactly who I thought they were. There was the Akarui and Smoosh drama where Akarui accused Smoosh of raping her, basically, and it turned out, yeah, that was a massive exaggeration. And the moment I started reading that document, I was like, I don't agree with any of this. This is very strange to me. And so Smoosh turned out to be basically entirely innocent, and Akarui deleted everything, so I was 100% vindicated in that regard. And also, what was the other thing? I've actually forgotten. There was the Torakura, yes, the Torakura allegations, which again were exaggerated, but Tora was very much an insane person to begin with. So my kind of both people in this situation are idiots and should get lives was another thing that I have no problem with and I would completely stand by to this day. So I was fortunate at the beginning of my career, as you might call it, but as Colin474 says again, in general, scheduled drama streams are a bad idea. Eventually, the demand for content exceeds the supply, which is a slippery slope, 100%. Was that the guy who was hitting on like 600 e-girls at once? Yes, it was. Beard. Is it bad? Is it bad? Stuff suddenly made so much sense to me when Nux revealed that he is a small hat person. I don't know what you mean by small hat person. Are you, the Mr. Beast drama is a massive exacerbated. I think you mean massively exacerbated. And again, that's another case, is that he means he means Jewish. Okay, if you'd said big nose, I would have understand. A small hat is like just a tiny bit too obscure for me to realize. Smoosh was the dude who mating pressed and mind broke his accuser. I remember that one. It's been my favorite VTuber drama. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And like Smoosh is a pretty cool guy. I've talked to him like multiple times since that stream. He is genuinely a pretty nice person, and it's very, very obvious to me that Akka was just extremely upset with him for very woman reasons. Wait, you didn't know? I mean, I know that I knew it, but it took somebody pointing it out because I'm very bad with implications, okay? I don't do implications. I am a very blunt and forthright person. I don't do implications. But, and again, because I have autism, I don't do implications because autism, all right? Much less extreme than those examples, but the recent Lisby accusation against the artist was pretty fun. Yeah, that's another case where I actually opened a few tabs related to that, and I was like, wow, this person, Lisby, is accusing a whole load of artists of being AI generated, and here's the proof. And now, a day later, it's like, yeah, she was lying, or she was, like, tracing stuff herself, and now she's deleted everything and run off. So I'm like, yeah, that's another thing. I'm glad I never tried to platform in any way. Aren't most Americans circumcised? Owner of a forum is autistic. I think that is not a revelation that is particularly dramatic. Yes, I am definitely autistic. I am diagnosed with autism. It's not like a self-diagnosis or anything. But anyway, how does this relate to what I'm planning in the future? So, what I am planning for the future is that I am going to be returning to at least semi-regular streaming. However, instead of doing things like drama streams, at least one day a week, I am going to do a general review of the content on the forum. As in, I am going to look at selected posts that I find interesting, and I will be giving my personal thoughts and my opinions on them. So it'll be a pretty simple, I think it's a pretty simple and reliable way to just generate content. Because, and I've actually, let me just go over, actually you can't actually see it because I've cropped it out. I will post it in the, I'll post it in the Discord and then I will share it on screen. So give me just 1 second, please. We do that, and then we open in browser. So if we go over here, and I'll just turn off chat and my PNG VTuber so you can see that this is something, I'm not sure if you can actually do this with Google, but these are tab groups which I have on Brave, and they let me basically compartmentalize and properly tabulate and collate and lots of other general names. Purple, ooh, purple color. I like purple. Purple is one of my favorite colors. Purple is the noblest shroud. But yeah, I have a whole bunch of tabs here that I will be going through on Wednesday. I will have a lot of things to comment on because there's a lot of it. Close your tabs, you psychopath. No, we are not closing the tabs. I decided to basically do a review of everything from page 4600 and onwards to the modern time. I'm about at page 4640 at the moment. Poor man's mad at the internet British version. Yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is that if people want me to review or look at and commentate on anything in particular, they should link me to those posts in the oh god, Proctor has the same window color as me. Time to change it. Peeved at the interwebs. Yeah, as I was saying, if people want me to review specific posts on the forum, they should go to the Discord channel and they should put a link to those posts in the stream materials channel. Or you can just at me in the relevant... If you make a post on TVA that you want me to do a review of in my weekly review, you should just at me in the post itself. I also will cover things like thread marks, for example, and also when the current thread reaches 5,000 posts, or 5,000 pages rather, I am going to be locking that thread and I'm going to be making a new general thread. I'm going to do that because Zenforo, and indeed all forums, get a little bit angry with you when the thread has too many posts in it, and 5,000 pages worth of posts is very much a large index to calculate. So whenever somebody adds a thread mark, whenever somebody adds a thread mark to the main thread, the whole site hangs for a good 10 seconds or so. So it's not convenient at all. Whereas if I go to like an events thread, it will calculate pretty much instantaneously, and there's no problem there. And then Cubano Man on the Discord just says, "Fool! You think you can wield the powers of the tabs like Kirsha does?" Yes, I can. I am. Oops, sorry, I just whacked my microphone. I am a careful student of tab magic. Chase Gayop of the Week. I don't like giving Chase any attention because he feeds off it, and it encourages him. Weekly Reticule Roundup honestly sounds... The trouble is, again, that would encourage Reticule as well, but I kind of find the idea of that not too terrible an idea. Weekly review for worst posters on the site. That's not a terrible idea either. I mean, again, this doesn't have to be serious, this can be jokey as well, and sometimes I just enjoy making fun of stuff, so... I mean, stuff like a review of worst postings and so on, Nolan sightings in the wild, yes. Again, I like that people are already coming up with ideas, because that's exactly what I'd hoped that people would do. I will probably open a thread of this on the forum after this. Who are the worst posters? Ria, you don't want to ask that question, trust me. Proctor stream finally. Hello, Denna. Welcome to the stream. Let me see, what else was I going to say? Yes. So, like, in recap, the general thread will be replaced with a new thread at 5,000 pages. The new threads, to accommodate the thread mark system, will only be 1,000 or 2,000 pages long at the most. We will see how the thread mark system copes with 1,000 pages. If the thread mark system is still indexing new thread mark entries on a 1,000 page thread without lagging the entire site, then I will allow the thread to proceed to 2,000 pages. I think that for logistical reasons, 2,000 pages is the new reasonable limit. Weekly reminder that perms aren't Japan only. Come on, bring Merely Tourist on for a debate. I don't care what the subject is, it'll be great. Sorry, Proctor, there are more important things. Oh, it's Nintendo Direct. Why on earth would you care about Nintendo Direct? I mean, seriously. What else was there? Yes. Oh, sorry, 1 second. I can feel a massive belch coming on. Give me a moment. Oh, that's noisy. Oh man, Merely is quite the poster. I mean, I think what impresses me about Merely Tourist is that he just keeps on going. Like, Scuttle got ran off the forum by his Niji posting, and I think it was unfair because Scuttle was always a decent guy to post about Niji Sanji stuff, and I don't think he ever had any particularly massively bad takes. Maybe he was inhaling the Niji copium a little bit too much, but I don't like that he got run off, basically. Well, I mean, he kind of quit posting himself, and I don't think he was necessarily run off, but it's obvious that, I mean, people were pretty mean to him, and I don't think that was particularly warranted. Hashtag free Scuttle. Scuttle isn't banned or anything. He can still post. I never did anything to Scuttle. Merely Tourists believes shitposting is bad for VTuber corpos. He's a special one. Any rules, updates? Let me just go to the forum itself because this is something that somebody did comment on. Give me just one moment. Give me just one momento, please. Wait, I can't do that on that one because I'm not logged in. I have... Also, I just want to note as well something very strange. The cloud version of the forum is still up after 2 months. Now, the thing is, I'm not paying for the cloud version anymore. If I go to my Zenforo admin panel, it will state quite clearly the cloud version is disabled and is no longer accessible. So I can't change or adjust anything. I'm literally locked out of the Zenforo cloud thing. And yet it's still up. And technically you can even still post on it. So I don't know why. Have you been... Okay, you haven't been charged for further support. No, I've not. I've definitely not been. Someone has been posting very large images in that cloud version, lol. Again, I can't do anything about that, and I don't care, because there's nothing to do, it's nothing to do with us any longer. I have no idea why Zenforo has not taken it down. Did the cloud manager just forget about TVA? It's quite possible. It is unironically possible. It just shows there is no, like, direct connection between the cloud system and the payment system. Because again, I have not paid for this in 2 months now, but it's still not gone down. So I just don't get it. I just don't get it, guys. It makes no sense to me, but that's just the thing that happens. Right, let me go to the forum discussion thread. Why has my post been quoted twice? Okay, that's really annoying. Forum discussion. By the way, who the heck is it? Colin474. Are you HFF201 on the forum as well? I assume, but I don't know. As long as they don't bill you, I guess it's fine. Yeah, they literally can't bill me any longer because my billing details are no longer on the site. Can we use it for free file hosting? I'm pretty sure they would notice immediately if the data usage spiked that much. So, yeah, I just don't understand. Like, it's nothing that I have any influence on. Wow, is the guy in chat with the same PFP as a guy on the forum actually the same person? Thrang, I am just very, very, weird, alright? I have a syndrome where if somebody changes their avatar or their username, they are literally the same person. It's like asking if I am Thrang. Thrang, are you Thrang? I mean, I know you anywhere because... You're a good dog. I would never mistake you for any other dog. No, I am not Thrang, I'm a skinhawk. How did you not recognize the PFP? You don't quite understand. I can barely see the PFPs on my screen right now because I'm looking at the chat through the OBS window. Grant Humphreys. Don't you two start, please. Look, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. Thrang is just like this, okay? It's very difficult. I mean, you've seen how hard he goes for ridicule. It's like, imagine being that, but he's Thrang, you're Thrang, I'm Thrang. Are there any more Thrangs I should know about? Who was the worst dynamic, me and Predicule or me and Proctor? I feel like Proctor is being a headmaster doing a roll call. Polit, Proctor, Oh, give me a moment then. Why on earth has my typing skills just completely destroyed themselves? Thrang and Proctor. Thrang and Ridicule. There we go. There we go. So you can all vote to your heart's content for that. Oh my, it's actually surprisingly contested. 14 votes. It's almost neck and neck, actually. I was not expecting this. Thrang is actually Riku Tazumi. He just framed Asahara as a distraction. Thrang X Ridicule. I don't like I don't like being cheated on like that. I don't accept that. Oh look, we're winning. We're winning. Thrang, don't worry. They recognize Thrang. They understand. Look at those votes. Look at those votes. Look at those votes, Thrang. You know that it's meant to be. No one can separate Ridicule from his prized meat. Congratulations, guys. The best dynamic is Thrang and Chase. Wait, it isn't worst relationship? Can I change my vote away from Meat Pippa? We need to get Proctor a male Pecora avatar. I have no idea what that would even look like. True love is plain to see. Oh dear. Oh, what is going on? I don't know. I've now completely lost my train of thought. Oh yes, this is something that actually moving on to a semi-serious topic that HIF 201 talked about. A few... When on earth did I even say this? Let me just check the date. July 26th, I kind of did a bit of a sad post in the Pippa thread. I can't even see who's winning the poll because my YouTube is glitching. That's convenient. Oh my goodness. No, please stop doing that. Well, that's YouTube chat completely squandered. Whoops. Oh no, it's back again. Sorry, I just clicked something and... Are you now 10% indigenous? Yes, Chief Proctor of the TVA tribe. Ask Asahara to make an AI male Pecora avatar for you. I'm sure he will anyway. I don't even need to ask at this point. He's just into that for some reason. But anyway, I'm going to close my eyes for a second and not look at chat so I can actually concentrate for 5 seconds at a time. So on July the 26th... I did a bit of a sad post in the Pippa thread where I talked about the people on KF basically trying to dox Pippa and sending her like stuff and so on and trying to invade her live streams. We all remember the Sharty raids on TVA and the nonsense that happened with that and the hilarious collage that resulted from it all, which is still one of my favorite moments in all of TVA's history, simply because of how retarded it all was. But yeah, with all the nonsense going on down there, I had a very much a downer moment for a bit, and this whole thing disillusioned me towards KF a great deal, I'll be honest, because of how easily it is they're all just believing any of the complete nonsense that is being told to them by the Sharty lunatics. And I said at the bottom, this is probably going to be meaningless sad posting, and I wasn't going to do anything without community input. But I kind of floated the idea of restricting the level of PL information that I allowed on TVA simply because people from the Sharties and so on were using it to refine their own hilariously awful doxing efforts. And a lot of people were kind of worried about my decision, or the suggestion of my decision, because they didn't even make a decision at that point. And in conclusion, I kind of feel as if it would not be a good idea, because for one thing, it would be bowing to that kind of external pressure, and it would be acknowledging that it's something that can affect us when I really don't think it is. I think HIF201 had some fairly good points when he commented on this in particular, and I'm grateful to, I think it was Nuck Temlech, who brought it up again, and I appreciate him bringing it back up because I kind of forgot not even said it, to be honest. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. But yeah, HIF201 commented in regards to it. Sorry, I'm going to say I'll move my microphone a little bit because I have to look at my other screen to read this. There are certain conversations on this forum, such as the call-out posts on serial indie drama mongers and small corpo implosions, that would be borderline impossible to have without freely and openly dropping past life / roommate / real life information. And I absolutely do not want this place to become a VT tier misinformation shithole because everyone's speaking in tongues. A new user thinks Noct Pippa means someone else, and they get too deep in their false assumptions that they're spreading baseless rumors without realizing it. From a moral perspective, I obviously dislike that people are compiling information for malicious purposes. But from a practical perspective, we shouldn't cripple our own ability to conveniently discuss topics of interest by assuming responsibility for what other people do off-site. Super Duper points out, it's not really our problem. I don't think we shouldn't censor our findings just because of a few outside bad actors, right? I overall do agree with this, and I'll finish off what HIF201 said. I will say I think the attempt to legitimize the forum within the VTuber community is in a way that could be useful to VTubers themselves will be a very difficult thing to balance, since the interests of professional entertainers rarely line up with the interests of the catty gossips, us, who enjoy talking about their drama. It's not impossible, since we've seen already that some VTubers are mature enough to engage with TVA as it is, but there will be many, many more who will only talk to us on their terms. And I don't want to risk a situation where we as posters have to walk on eggshells and hold off on banter and criticism towards a VTuber who has provided behind-the-scenes insight or is otherwise friendly towards the staff. I think in those situations, conserving the current forum culture should take precedent over playing nice, since censorship is a slippery slope that can easily start from just trying to be welcoming. I think the majority of people here do genuinely want the best for any VTubers who stop by, and I'd personally prefer people not to intentionally instigate fights with them, but openly discussing roommate material in both constructive manners and less constructive manners has been part of the culture here since day one. It would genuinely hurt us if this had to be swept up, even if the reasons for doing so were well-intentioned. It might be helpful to have the post pulled up on screen or link to it. What I can do actually is this, because I'm not logged in on my streaming account that I have set up for my Windows. So give me a moment and I will put this in a Discord screenshot and I'll open it that way. Here we are, and I will zoom out a bit so that people can read. Wait, no, that's the wrong place, sorry. I have far too many windows open at the moment, so it's pretty awkward for me to wrangle them all in the moment. There we go. Move over. Can people read this? I'll just zoom in a bit and I'll do the whole silly thing again where... No, what am I doing? No, that's what I should be doing, sorry. I really should learn to not have two copies of the same thing open all at once. And I'll just turn the chat off and so on for a second as well, so we can actually read this together. There we go. If they can't handle a little banter, then I do understand an awful lot where HIF is coming from. At the same time, I do have certain issues with it myself, because one of the problems that I've really seen recently, somewhat on TVA, but also massively on Kiwi Farms as Ground Zero, is that what I used to see as very, or at least reasonably objective discussion of the things and subjects and people that were being discussed has been slowly replaced, and it's been replaced by much more bad faith kind of conversations. I don't know why exactly, but it has been my very strong feeling for quite a while now that Kiwi Farms in particular and other places in general are slowly becoming more institutionally corrupted over time. And as a result, it's not so much about the truth any longer, but it's about what narratives that people can push. And I've seen it on threads that are very often focused on women as well. And I find it very interesting to contrast how women are being talked about on places like Kiwi Farms and in VTubing in general versus how men are being talked about. It's not so much of a big thing in VTubing because male VTubers just are not particularly well talked about. But it seems to me, to be blunt, that there are an awful lot more people out there who are more than willing to just shit up the place and say whatever the hell they think will be destructive and damaging towards women. And that's always been a problem on KF. Null just doesn't care because anime women, yeah. Sorry, I need a drink of water. And, like, the bothersome thing is that there's that whole saying that a lie can run around the world twice before the truth can get its pants on. Yeah, bait posting has increased. We have been very fortunate in that there have been some insiders who have signed up to the forum or have contacted me in private and have provided me with information that I believe is made overall in good faith. So I have been confident that the kind of leaks or insider information that have been posted on TVA has mostly been accurate, or at the very least been given on out of an earnest desire to clarify situations. However, at the same time, I know that there are some people who have attitudes, and let's take the Niji-sanji thread, for example. It's very obvious on TVA that people who hate Niji-sanji are completely and totally in control of any narrative related to Niji-sanji on the forum. It is basically impossible to be positive in any way about Niji-sanji on TVA. Now, let me just emphasize, there are very, very good reasons to be negative about Niji-sanji, to be skeptical about Niji-sanji, to even, in some cases, call out when people are positive about Niji-sanji, because Niji-sanji as a company is a dumpster fire. There is no getting away from that. And so I don't want people to think, oh, I don't like it when people say bad things about Niji-sanji. That is not what I am trying to say. What I am trying to say is that there is an overall, and if someone, let's just say, for example, let's just say that somebody came out and was able to say on TVA, look, I have proof that, let's say, for example, Selene was a bully and that she did horrible things to all the other Niji-sanji talents, and actually the live stream, like the black screen live stream that Illyra Pandora, Vox Akuma, etc. made was 100% truthful, and I can back that up. Do you think that people in general would be willing to accept that, or would they be dismissive of it? I almost guarantee that the overwhelming majority of people would be far more skeptical of that information than if that information had been presented before the Niji-sanji L collection thread really took off. Simply because, now, and again, it's very difficult to talk about this stuff without coming across like a bias. Selene couldn't bully a bowl of dry cereal. I mean, yeah, and again, for the sake of clarity, I am not saying that I am sitting on some kind of information that says that Selene is in the wrong, okay? That is not even something I am trying to imply. The reason I bring that up is purely as a counterfactual to the information that is already commonly accepted. Okay, and I hate that I have to say that kind of thing, because there's definitely some kind of rat going to be out there saying, oh, Proctor is sitting on secret information that Selene is the bad person all along. I would meager them to heck, but would be open to see the evidence, yes. But we did not taint the Niji infosphere, they did it themselves in their own fandom and destroy the rest. I mean, yeah, there is plenty of reasons There's plenty of reasons to attack Niji-sanji, to be blunt. But at the same time, you can't also claim that the people that are criticizing Niji-sanji are objective, and they are much more willing to believe one side of the story than the other side. And again, I am not saying that there are not perfectly reasonable and rational incentives towards believing one side over the other. But what I am saying is that I prefer it when things are a bit more objective, and I can extrapolate that out to other things on the forum that I see slowly evolving. And those are things that I kind of passively worry about over time. I've stated my opinion of Niji-sanji and Selen several times over. Yes, I know you have, Last of the Mohicans, and as far as I recall, I think your takes on it have been pretty rational. And again, TVA has been very fortunate so far, and I have been very fortunate in the kind of things that we have had the opportunity to be passionate about have turned out to be what I would call the correct causes, or at least causes that have had a strong moral backing to them. But I think that there is a chance in the future where we will have the choice to maybe not endorse, but I'm not even sure how to describe it really, but to in some way take sides on a topic where later on it will be proven, oh wait, we were wrong all the time, and now we have to live with the fact that we are wrong. We have to make sure that we cultivate a structure and a society on the forum where if that happens, the members are willing to say, you know what, we messed up, we need to reevaluate things, and we are not going to cling to the beliefs that we previously had, which on an objective level can now be proved wrong. Look, this site is Faye's country now, and the other fans need to come to Jesus about it. I mean, yeah, that's another case of, for example, what would happen? What do you think would happen? I'm not saying this in like I've not already answered this in my head. Like, I'm genuinely curious what people think would happen. Let's say tomorrow we discover that Sakana is a massive scammer, that he has been stealing money from a ton of talents. But the talents are shutting up about it because they just want to keep their jobs. Like, let's say that as an example. How do you think that TVA would react if somebody came and said, I have evidence that Sakana is a massive scammer, and the only reason we haven't heard about it is because the talents want to keep their jobs and they're too scared to speak out? The problem is that kind of information that could destroy the problem. Sorry, let me read that again. CBM. The problem is that kind of information that could destroy disinformation is buried on NDA. Sakana is a scammer. I still don't have my merch. I would want to marry Dizzy even more. I'm willing to shit talk anyone and anything for my personal enjoyment. I mean, yeah, I understand that. Krigallo Bunsen. This all came about because logic and reason has been left behind. The current global culture is founded solely on emotional sand, and no one knows how to think critically anymore. I overall agree with you. Sakana exposed to have a feeder fetish. Look, kid, I don't have much time. I have evidence that will lead to the arrest of Sakana. Based Fishman. Fishman is pretty baller at PUBG Mobile, though PUBG has a mobile thing. To be fair, Sakana's caught shit before on the forum for his history over policing the talents and handling the censorship arc poorly, but I get what you mean. Remember how you were screaming about people not coming forward about bad things, and because of that nothing would change in the scene because of it? Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why you bring that up exactly, CBM. Please feel free to elaborate, but like just going off kind of what I was saying there, yes. And I think that actually that kind of hits the nail on the head there. I worry sometimes that people with information will look at TVA and see the way that people talk about, say, Niji-sanji L collection and everything, and go, I don't think I can actually talk to people here because they seem so set in their ways that they will just call me an asshole and a liar and not be willing to listen to what I have to say. I don't think that is the case at the moment. However, it is something that simply sticks in my head as maybe this is something we need to be wary of in future. When the Yumi Plus thing, they were not even in India and still refused to talk about it. Yes, I understand what you're talking about now. Yes, nothing will change in the scene unless VTubers stand up and talk honestly about what happens in the scene. And I think that I pray, well, not literally pray, but I really hope that in some way I can be someone who pushes, at the very least, the very first pebbles down the scree slope or the snow side that will turn into the avalanche of people actually coming out and talking about what the industry is really like and what is going on behind closed doors. It's another thing that HIF201 pointed out, that the interests and the goals of a professional quote-unquote streamer are always going to be different from our own. Because when you are a streamer and you have the opportunity of being a whistleblower, what HIF201 says, it's a difficult situation because I get it. Whistleblowers pick up a reputation for being hard to work with, even if they're in the right. Yes. And this is something that Kirsha has talked about as well, is that she has pointed out that she has done her best to be a principled and honest person in the VTuber community. She has called people out when they have obviously done bad things. And as a result, she has gotten labeled as a dangerous person who, like, people who are apparently professionals are unwilling to work with because they're like, well, if I do something, will you call me out on it as well? And her point is, no, I'm not going to, because I only call out people that are obviously being disingenuous and unprofessional. If you're not disingenuous and unprofessional, I'm not going to reveal your stuff. But people don't think like that. That's not how people are. They would prefer, in the industry, people would prefer to work with somebody who will be a doormat than somebody who will stand up for themselves. I don't know about this topic because I have called out the Niji L thread on a couple of occasions and the response was overwhelmingly positive with us having a lot of constructive conversations. I trust the inmates. I'm glad of that, Nelly Love. I'll admit that I haven't read... Sorry. Oh dear. That I have not read too much of the recent Niji-Sanji L stuff, simply because, to my knowledge, there just hasn't been a huge amount of stuff coming out about it in the past few months. As journalists, we need to protect our sources. Yeah, you have no idea. I would love... That's the most annoying thing, and it's genuinely something that I've come up against several times. When I get contacted by somebody new, and I'm like, I'm a trustworthy person to talk to, I have a real conundrum. Because the only way that I can prove I am a trustworthy person is to show that I have information that I have held to my chest that is worthy of being entrusted with. But I can't do that without revealing that I have information and therefore betray somebody's trust. It's like, what is my solution here? Our fascist beliefs of Shuffle's notes simping for a pink mold woman. I can confirm Proctor is a very trustworthy confidant. Yes, and I can confirm Thrang is very trustworthy too. He has never leaked any of our ERP logs. Catch-22. Yes, exactly. It's a very irritating position to be in, because if I was a whistleblower, there's no way in hell that I would talk to somebody like Nuxtaku or False ID or whatever the hell. I would have no idea who to talk to. I leaked the time you attempted to initiate ERP with me on TVA before. It seems like a lot of your problem could be solved by banning LAM? Who is LAM? I'm sorry, I don't get abbreviations. Are there any ongoing locale/drama threads outside of Niji-Sanji L's? I mean, there's the events thread. Not the events thread, but the events forum and the laundry room. Those usually have decently active threads. Ban C, ban Latam. Yeah, LA. I don't think. I think. Did you mean LATAM's arc light? And the Mickey Nico thread is pretty active. There'd be nobody left. I really that actually that's a good point. Being honest is a career suicide in this industry. Everyone has shit on each other. Remember? Oh boy, you have no idea, mate. You have no idea. One day, I actually joked about this. If I am ever the entire VTuber community had better pray that I am never diagnosed with a terminal illness, because you can bet your ass that if I am diagnosed with a terminal illness, I am going to be writing a document, and when I die, that document is going to be leaked on the internet, because when I am dead, I am not going to have to care about keeping anybody's secrets any longer. And boy, there are some things that I would like to share with some people. But yeah, until I am diagnosed with a terminal illness, nobody has to worry about that. Would Jesus approve? I'm trustworthy. I'm going to leak everything when I die. More seriously, I vaguely remember a Pipper and Dizzy collab where they talked about FaZe Gen 1 going Manhera about Fishman taking too much money and Fishman talked them down. It'll be leaked through me. Proctor is turning into Rorschach. The amount of people that have willingly given Nux information is appalling. Dude's a snake and would throw you under the bus or use your situation for clout in a second. Proctor setting up a Samson option. Life is a terminal illness, man. Given your posts, you'll be long gone before the dog is finished. Shut up. Shush. Granth, please don't give him AIDS during your sessions. You already have a terminal illness. It's called being from the UK. Yeah, in terms of the LATAM stuff, that's actually a good point that somebody brought up. I honestly am seriously considering some kind of forum that is just for ESL people, because there is so much drama in the ESL VTuber community and we just get none of it. And I am seriously tempted at this point to have an ESL forum where it's just like, yeah, people can talk about the LATAM dramas. Like, we have people like Cubanodum on the Discord as well, and he sees a lot of this stuff. I know that people like Busajima Bibi, she does stuff about the ESL drama sphere. Make them do their English reps instead. I mean, the nice thing about Latin American stuff is that a Romance language is fairly easy to translate, so it wouldn't be completely obscured to people that aren't ESL. That's a goddamn time bomb, quite possibly. I'm not sure. Man's literally going to farm 30s for God. What's a 30? What's a 30? I don't know that, Alex. Couldn't there be a dedicated subforum for LATAM stuff, just like how KF has a language dedicated to locale boards? I mean, as Latinos are a diverse bunch, third world. Oh, I see. Get Dazzle to teach them all Russian, they can become double Dota pros. Oh, third world. Oh, I get it. Sorry. That's a term I haven't heard in a long time, actually. If you can't speak it, you can't moderate. Sounds like setting up a time bomb. I mean, let me just actually... Oi, would you moderate an ESL forum, an ESL board on the forum? Wait. ESL thread will need extra mods. Incoming lolly and soccer posts. Also Goku. I know that feel. I have found 2 friends' Pornhub content account. I really want to leak it in the group friends Discord, but it's wrong. Okay, that's kind of confusing, but let's see if he responds. Let's see if he responds. I'm very curious to see if he has any commentary on this. Actually, a lot of servers and forums say English only because of moderation limits. It's not a bad idea. Found the first poster in the ESL board. ESL thread needs the registration filter, but for basic English grammar and punctuation before approval. Hello, fellow bastardo di Paul. Is the friend hot likely to be Azihara? Azihara, will you please stop being horny on main? Thank you. I know that's virtually impossible for you, but he hasn't responded yet. That's really annoying. Oh, goodness me. What else was I going to discuss? There was some things. Yes. I managed to completely distract myself, so give me a moment, please. If there's anybody that has any questions as to what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of months, then feel free to ask. So I'm just looking back on the thread at the moment to see... I am considering... I've already said that I'm going to be changing the general thread structure when it hits 5k pages. I am probably going to ask for more people who would like to be archivists, basically, we need better thread OPs and thread collation. I would like at least 3 or 4 more people that are willing to dedicate a little bit of time each week to kind of consolidating information on the forum, especially in the events threads, that are able to add new thread marks and are able to put together things where it's just easy as possible for people to reference events that have happened. Because TVA definitely has the possibility of becoming a more open resource for various kinds of people. I've already had people tell me they use the forum fairly extensively for their research. I know people like Rima Evenstar has used TVA material before. So has the Armchair Expert, who I actually talked to as well, who I think is a pretty good guy overall. He's used TVA's material several times, and I think that the Armchair Expert is most definitely one of the better... I wouldn't even call him a commentary YouTuber or anything. But he does a lot of good stuff, a lot of good commentary on various industry things. And if people like him can use the forum for good purposes, I am delighted with that. Sorry, I've just managed to obscure chat very cleverly, so I will just look back at it for a second. Make Inbox do it, he's already insane. Yeah, I have a question. When are you going to start working on your NWN server again? I've actually been working on it a tiny bit in the last few days. Maybe I'll do it a bit more. You need to start leaving reacts to the shitposts about you. Very important. I don't even know what you mean. Azihara will stop being horny on main when you stop lusting after the fluffy tails on main. I like Rima. Rima has reached out to me on several occasions for clarifying information about subjects, and I have provided to her, and she has also very much been an advocate for VTubers as opposed to trying to trash them like other people. She has always, in my experience, done what she can to be on the side of the victim as opposed to basically flinging missiles at undeserving individuals, which I enjoy. I think that is very professional, basically. God damn it, Reticule and Meat Pippa did eventually win. I'm very annoyed. They don't recognize... Thrang, we're gonna have to push things forward a little bit on our marriage, because these people obviously don't understand that we are actually the greatest romance on the forum. The conspicuous lack of comment on fluffy tails later. Commit sewer slide. Oh dear, their forbidden love. I didn't know they sourced those info from our posts. I mean, yeah, they do decent stuff. If you're looking to rework OPs, that could fix the lack of objectivity concern you had. OPs set the tone for the thread, really. Yes. Hot, steamy, gay ERP sex on the TVA front page is the only way. I voted for the sicker with the meatloaf. Oh yeah, Alex, didn't you say that you actually met like a crazy Pippa fan on one of your shooting expeditions recently? A bird and a dog have a baby. What would it be? Probably a new species that I could copyright on DeviantArt and sue anyone that made fan art without my permission. NGL, I love suicide as a stupid term to bypass content flag ID. I voted Reticule because it was funny. Reticule is a entertaining person. I actually used Reticule as a talking point at VExpo several times, and people were quite entertained by his insanity. Very bone apple tea. OP set tone for thread. OPs are all bundles of sticks. Ergo, become an hero will always be the best one. I'm still partial to I hope you get hired by any color. Kermit Sewer Slide. Fun for the whole family. I'm sorry. My mind is very disjointed at the moment. Goodness me, we're nearly on... How long has this stream been going already? Yeah, like nearly an hour and a half. I'm probably only going to stream for until 2 hours. Less crazy and more massively autistic, he had a bunch of stickers on his rifle case. Miku and Pippa were among them, along with at least 10-15 big-chested cartoon women. Oh, that's hilarious. PDF files and essay have damaged serious discussions, yes. Bro slides up to you, hey, you want to hear about my users? Talking about his mother on the first date has been replaced by talking about Reticule on the first date. I'll have you know that I am still in contact with 100% of the women that I've ever told about my mother. But yeah, kind of in recap, the weekly content reviews for TVA will definitely be a thing. I need to make a thread on the forums about further things regarding those ideas. What else is there? Yes. 2 hour mark is when the shark starts streaming anyway. Oh, Gura's streaming again? That's kind of amusing. I remember she said she was a partially retired streamer recently, which is hilarious. If you talk about Reticule on the first date and she keeps in touch, she's the one. Waiting for your mother to approve of them as wife material. I would never date a woman that my mother had disapproval of. So, I mean, because my mother is very good at judging women, because, you know, she is one. Never, if another woman dislikes the woman you want to be with, that's a warning sign, because they know more than they do. Beijing Dr. Freud. Shut up. Freudian slip. Shush, you idiots. I would also not date a woman my... Shush, shush. Okay, you heard nothing, all right? You heard nothing. Somebody also mentioned the idea of highlighting VTubers through this stream, which I would definitely be interested in doing. I think that it would be nice every week when I stream to highlight at least one indie or two view that I think deserves a bit more attention. There's quite a few that I can think of off the top of my head that I feel would be worthy of highlighting, but I think that a thread or a other material where people could make recommendations would be a good idea. Because overall, the trouble is, what I don't want TVA to become is a place where we just discuss the negative aspects of the industry. I'm not saying it's even leaning in that direction, but it's something that I'm conscious of. Highlight Keela, yeah, I'm really upset, actually, that Keela is graduating. Now, I will admit, I didn't exactly watch a great deal of Keela's content, but what I did watch of it was really nice. I think that she is a delightful person. I think that also her rigging and her model is genuinely one of the best in the whole industry. I think that it is tragic that her model is not going to be used any longer because, my goodness, whoever rigged that model is a genius. Her facial expressions, the way that everything works, she is just one of the most adorable characters in all of VTubing. That is just, and she fits she's a perfectly cast VTuber. Just amazingly well cast. And I have heard things about Einan Project that I'm going to be exploring. And again, it's very sad that that this is not going to be out in the open. But I have bad thoughts about Island Project. I have a feeling that the Island Project is not going to be around all that much longer. I think that sadly it might well be going the Via Reverie route from what I've heard. But I can't say anything. I've only heard rumors, but that's my impression of everything that I've heard so far. I think that in the next year or so, we are going to see a fairly major collapse of various different small corporations. We've already seen V Reverie collapse. We have heard bad things about V and U, and now we have Iron Project starting to show its cracks as well. And this is, again, there are going to be so many people. Well, I expect, again, I do not know for certain. I expect that a whole bunch of people will graduate from these small companies, and then they'll just not talk about what happened. And that really irritates me. I am desperate to get in contact with at least some of these people and to get them to talk and explain what happened. What do you think of the current state of Kizuna Ai? I've very little because I barely pay attention to Kizuna Ai. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me just go back to just chatting. I just realized I've been on the screen for ages. Sorry. The bloodletting will happen. It's inevitable. Yes. And again, I want the VTuber industry to get better. I don't want it to get worse. I think a lot of that has to do with fear of legal actions. The legal action stuff is just nonsense overall. I got Doom Post debates from VT on my Twitter feed regarding HoloLive. Kinda annoying. They seem to be doing well, even if Aqua is leaving. Then everyone re-debuts in a Brave Core subsidiary. I mean, whatever you like to say about Brave Core, it seems to me that Brave Core at the very least has a level of professionalism that... and I don't think that Brave even has any major outstanding scandals related to them. So, I mean, if you get bought out by Brave Core, that seems to be a not bad thing overall. All the people from... what on earth is their name? Globy at V-Expo, they all seem to be pretty good. Iron is a case of vetting your talents properly and understanding what audience you're pandering to. Wait, that stream is still going? Yes. Brave had the Game Boo shit. I have no idea what that is. I've never heard of that. Maybe, like, laundry room. Maybe that's another thing that I could do. Maybe Brave Core deserves a laundry room thread at some point. Literally all this drama in the industry. A lot of it, Regal, a lot of it and would not be worth it to take to court, but if you can strike that fear into someone to not talk because of said legal action, I think you meant to say more there. Cursed tuba artifacts. I mean, I literally am looking at the screen on a cursed tuba artifact because this, I am literally reading the chat on the tablet that Spanner sent to Charlotte that she then sent to me. So if we're talking about cursed tuba artifacts, I literally have one right now in my possession. And honestly, that has made the entire experience of TVA to be to be worth it right there. Because yes, as a recollection, to recall for everybody, I have Spanner's sacred tablet that he sent to Charlotte. Spanner's children are watching with us. Sorry, I am stupid with my words. It's okay, it's okay. As the world economy slides into depression, they will all be fighting for simp bucks. Yes. Moo Latte was Keela Rigger. Sorry, let me just note that down, actually. I wonder if he still takes commissions. Not that I would want, not that I have the money for a rig or anything. Coupon. Sorry, I'm just looking at the Discord for a second. Yeah, let me just note that down one moment. There we go. Moo Latte. Because that guy is incredibly good. Oh, I guess I could use the tablet story to prove you can keep information secret. You haven't doxed that girl's address or anything. I mean, I have no idea why. I mean, in fairness, Charlotte moves around an awful lot because she's a student, so her address is pretty much useless to me because I know she's not living there right now. Because she's back in Canada, rather. Canada. Real talk, though, I'm more concerned about how much of the industry Brave's buying out. They're not evil yet, but they have the means to be. I do agree with you. Monopolies are never good. That includes Hollow. I don't think Globie has even had any graduations, but that's actually something I would like to do. I would like a little bit of feedback on this, actually. I am kind of inclining myself towards making some kind of official TVA hotline or TVA contact list where people can just drop information about corporations or VTubers or whatever in private without me potentially even knowing who is doing it, just giving me information. So there's a route where if people are wanting to leak stuff and don't even want their name to be attached to it, they can do so. I'm not sure whether that's a good idea or not. And let me just emphasize, anything that I would get in that system, under that system, would not be public. It would not be public unless I was able to independently verify any of that information. The problem is that that is Anon could very easily tell you all about his schizo theories. Yes, it is quite possible. My envisioned idea for how such a system would work would be somebody anonymously says to me, hey, I know this person who you could reach out to. Let's say they're a moderator of a major talent's Discord. You could reach out to this person and talk to them, okay? So that I don't know who told me to do that, so that there is no possibility of me leaking that information to people. I only now have a lead that I can choose to follow up on if I want. If you do make such a place, then you will have to regulate it very well, since that could easily turn into people spinning rats and dropping misinformation anonymously. They can contact you anonymously now. I mean, technically they can, but people are weird and silly. Ask them to verify through Twitter and Discord with information you can keep to yourself. I mean, I kind of do that already, but everything is very much informal. I'm not sure if I should publicly state in any way or not my intentions regarding the information that I want to have. I think that I should, but I'm not certain. Like, should I basically put a section on the forum or a post on the forum which says, hello, my name is Proctor Zakharov. I consider myself something of an investigative journalist in the VTuber industry. I am always interested in knowing how the VTuber industry works. I have spoken to people before. People have contacted me with inside information. And I want to make it clear that I am always interested in knowing how corporations work on the inside, about various related things, etc. and so on. I think that would be worth me putting out there so that people are able to quickly reference and know who I am. Journalist spit. I mean, the trouble is the name journalist has been completely dragged through the mud in recent years, but that would be good. Try not to scare them off, though. Yes, I don't want to scare people off, but at the same time, I don't want anybody to give me information without knowing where it's happened, because this has happened to me before. I have had at least one person come to me and say something that I don't think they even realized was unbelievably damning to another person. And I was like, can you tell me a bit more? And they were like, yeah, this, and this happened. And then I was like, you do realize you're telling me this. I am the owner of a gossip forum. I don't think you fully realize what you just said to me. And they were like, oh shit, I really shouldn't have said that. Let me just delete it and pretend it never happened. And I let that go. I could have made hay out of what they said to me because it was a pretty damning thing. But I was like, yeah, I think you just... You didn't realize what you were actually saying, so I'm going to give you a chance to retract it and forget that it happened. And that has never come up. Because remember, a lot of VTubers are innocent, introverted young women. They don't even really understand what it is they're saying in a lot of cases. Maybe one day I'll be able to explain that incident a bit more when everybody involved has graduated, but yeah, it was an interesting experience, shall we say. Let me just look on... Do you want me to get high in power and start a coup? Yeah, why not? I appreciate how Denna didn't even manage to spell Espanol correctly for an extra insult. Dear. Sorry, I was just reading the Discord for a second. Autism speaks. I think I have more or less covered what I wanted to say for the evening. If anyone here has any further questions or anything like that, I'd say now is the time to bring them up, because there's only a couple more things that I kind of think are worth going over. In terms of... Let me think about this. I've been thinking of hiring 1 or 2 more moderators. Well, I say hiring. Employing, I suppose. I'm still interested in people who are able to do things like HTML and so on. Forum banners when? What do you mean by forum banners, Armored Glass Cannon? I don't really know exactly what you mean by that. Gonna bring up Yume Plus. I mean, I'll probably do that on Wednesday, because I want to stream on Wednesday, and that is when I will go over all my tabs and stuff. I don't want to do them tonight, because it's already been 2 hours, and there's at least 3 hours of content on my screen over there. Grooming new moderators. Don't worry, Thrang is the only moderator that I'm interested in grooming. But I think that I've been very fortunate in the 3 moderators that I have employed at the moment have been very, very trustworthy and have been very, very good. Any estimate on when the mystery idol questions will be answered? That's a good question, actually. I will be asking them for answers sometime this week. Are you planning on releasing some more edited videos on this channel? Potentially. There's some stuff that I want to talk about. The trouble is that I'm not really sure exactly what kind of topics I want to cover, and when I start writing any kind of script, I'll get like a quarter of the way through, and then I think, you know what, this is kind of morphed into something else. I want to do something different, and I stop that script. So it's kind of awkward and irritating. But I will do it at some point, definitely. I might be doing some more gaming stuff as well. Somebody recently suggested randomizer content, and they were very into randomizer content. I might steal that idea myself, because I find playing video games on stream to be a bit difficult, because I'm constantly trying to think of things to say, and I am also ADHD, and so long gaming sessions are not something that I do. I'm always doing something else. I usually play for like half an hour, and then I stop and do something else for 10 minutes, then I play for another half an hour, then I stop and do something else for 10 minutes, etc. and so on. I generally don't game for hours at a time, but something like a challenge run of some kind, or a randomizer, etc. would be pretty cool. I would love to play Factorio on stream. The trouble is that... How about an AI roguelike session with VTubers? I mean... What do you mean AI roguelike session with VTubers? Can you explain that a bit more, Monaco Foreigner? Proctor will become a Let's Play channel eventually. I used to love Let's Plays, but it's difficult. A stream with the armchair guy could be good content. I do agree. I think he would definitely collaborate with me if I asked. Start a DJ channel on Twitch where you just play your tunes. I wouldn't be interested in your music, but some might. I've never made music. What are you talking about? Embrace autism, stream EVE online, spend a single 22-hour session sitting cloaked in a system waiting for a miner to show up. It's a game where you generate scenarios with AI. I mean, possibly. We'll see. I would like to do multiplayer Factorio would actually be a kind of cool idea. My only issue with Factorio is that it basically hard... I don't know how to change my stream, because the trouble is my Steam is... Factorio makes your username your Steam name. And so anytime I use Factorio, it basically hard doxes my Steam account, and my Steam account is very, very old. So, I mean, I don't think anybody could dox me via my Steam account, but it just has a tiny bit of a tie to my, to other stuff in my life that I just don't want to be completely public name. Just change your Steam name to something random. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It uses your fundamental stream account name. It doesn't change. Just pirate it. You couldn't get multiplayer then. And you can't get mod support. Just make a new account and family, share Factorio to it. I didn't know you could do that, actually. That is an interesting suggestion, Maniacal Foreigner, so I'll do that. You can't get multiplayer and you can't get mods, as far as I'm aware. Proc doesn't want anyone to dox his past ERP. Yeah, the family share things works. Doesn't Steam have a streamer mode? Maybe it does. I'll have to look into it a little bit more. Denna, why are you posting in the Discord as opposed to on YouTube? You nitwit. Mods are harder but not impossible. I always play Factorio very heavily modded. Usually streamer modes censor other people's names but not your own. Yeah, it's awkward and annoying, but yeah, I would definitely play Factorio. Another idea that I had was RimWorld. RimWorld with either VTuber colonists or Discord colonists. Not Discord, TVA colonists. That would be cool. Some kind of hardcore challenge mode with RimWorld that I could stream. That'd be kind of cool. Ask Josh if you can interview him. No. He would never agree to that. Absolutely no chance in hell. But yeah, those are two things that I could definitely do in future. Anyway, I just realized it's getting really warm as well. I'm starting to sweat quite badly. I'm probably going to end things here overall because I don't think there's anything else that I massively want to discuss. I will have more time on Wednesday to talk about things. Say you want to box him. I'm getting to that point, actually. My exercise is really starting to get my arms toughened up. My biceps and my forearms are really growing. Like, I am stunned at how much just using hand grips has grown my forearms. Josh would just call him a pedo and then make a 5-minute dedicated segment to it. I logged back in to my KF account recently to post in the Pippa thread to expose one of the sharty retards for being someone who tried to join the forum and was revealed to be underage. So I relogged into my KF account to report him and point that out. And I noticed that somebody had pinged me in the, I think it was the Pippa thread, or maybe the Ralph thread or whatever, and Null had actually looked at my stream list, and he had he'd highlighted the thumbnail of the meat Korsha that was a joke, and like he'd called that Coomer content or something, which I just find hilarious because if people don't know, I have a stream thumbnail which is an AI generated image of like a girl, of like a kimono Mimi girl. And the joke of that is, that's actually someone putting the meat Korsha that Reticule made, and I think also a picture of my golden pheasant, through an AI generator and asking it to spit out an anime girl version of those images. And I put it on my stream thumbnail as a shit post. Because it's literally an anime girl of the meat Korsha. And it was that I just found, like, Josh calling that Coomer content was just absolutely side-splitting to me. I'm upset that it was like a month's old because I hadn't logged into my KF account for weeks and weeks. So I wasn't able, I felt that it was kind of a stupid move to reply to him and explain the joke weeks and weeks after the event. But if I'd noticed that sooner, I would definitely have pointed that out because I'm just like, dude, you're literally calling Coomer content a joke. Or a joke Coomer content, rather. That was really funny for me. Told you, Josh has become the boomer he hates. He's super out of touch. I don't blame Josh for a lot of things, but I do feel he could take a much more active role in maintaining standards on Kiwi farms. Somebody posted in the Pippa thread recently, why are people soft on Pippa? I think they're from 2021, and they're saying, oh, why is everybody defending Pippa? Why is people soft on Pippa? And I felt like replying, but I didn't. But what people don't seem to get, what new people don't seem to understand, is that Kiwi Farms is like TVA is. We observe and we document, we don't attack. The Pippa thread is full of retards that are actively trying to ruin Pippa's life. Whereas I remember when Kiwi Farms had threads on people like Nick Bait. Nick Bait is a rapist, pedophile, shit fetishist who is one of the most disgusting people the Farms has ever documented. And yet Kiwi Farms was able to maintain a no trolling policy on a guy who ate shit out of his underage child's ass, as far as I recall. And yet Pippa is... people are allowed to talk about A-logging and, attacking Pippa because she made a joke about good pedophilia once. It's kind of like the DSP detractors now finding any small thing to A-log about. I could have gone without hearing that. Yeah. It's a website about laughing at retards, but some of the new friend user base thinks it's about Eben moral crusades. But Pippa's an anime woman, that's therefore automatically bad. Yeah, that's what I disagree with it. This idea that it's anime, therefore it's automatically bad. A-logging sounds really bad with what you've just described. I kind of muddled up my terms. It's not really... A-logging is just the act of, saying somebody is bad when you're bad yourself, pretty much. Which is what the DSP detractors did. Whereas there's a difference between... I think that A-logging is kind of dumb, but it's ultimately fairly harmless. I think they're doing it because Josh has been ambivalent about Pippa in the past and they get jealous. I mean, yes. Oh, I see what you mean, Monaco Foreigner. Sorry. Yeah, everyone in the Pippa thread is a new account from 2023 or 2024. Yeah. It just depresses me. Because, again, knowing more about the industry, KF could be a genuine resource where people are able to talk about the actual bad things that are happening in the VTuber industry. About people like Marina and Sylvain Spark, who are dreadful, awful people. Or the retarded Twitter artists who lie about each other constantly. Or the black VTuber thing, eating each other alive constantly. But they don't. They'd much rather just talk about Pink Rabbit bad. And that depresses me, because I remember when KF was a place where you went for the reality, for the truth, that no other website would discuss. And now it's as bad as any random gossip place. And that depresses me. You used to be able to go to KF for the hard truth about people, for the truth that other websites wanted censored. Now it's a gossip mill. That's upsetting. As somebody who has been on KF since 2015, that's upsetting to me. But now I'm realizing that I am actually pouring with sweat, so I am going to go cool down for a bit. So I'm probably going to end this stream right here. Well, not right here, but soon. The thread isn't even about Pink Rabbit bad half the time. It's dude with anime PFPs calling other anime PFPs pedophiles. Home's dead, you femboy. Maybe. I still have hope. Unless you somehow changes Josh's mind that anime will never happen, he will use the most negative and bad faith interpretation of anything anime adjacent. Whether you have to point that out? What? What do you mean, shipmate F? Go shower, you stinky? Probably. Edit profile. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the Discord for a second. Unless you're meaning your account name. Interesting. Okay. I have Josh adjacent experience since effing 8chan was a thing. He's never going to change. Yeah, I know. He's the most stubborn person in the entire industry, which is a good thing, but also a bad thing. Alright, gentlemen, thank you all very much for hanging out with me. I can't believe we've maintained 70 plus CCV this entire time that I've basically been rambling. I really do appreciate it. So I will see you all on Wednesday, where I will go through tab hell with everybody. Good stream. Thank you very much. Thank you also, Divo Leon, Henrik Carter, Shipmate F, Danny D, Regal, Hijeb. Is it Hijeb? No, it's Helegjeb or something. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate your everythings. And hopefully soon I'll be able to actually raid people at the end of stream. It'd be really nice to actually raid a VTuber for a change. Good night.